Welcome back, everybody. Kathy Arbor here. Hope you're all having a fantastic fall day. It's not really fall, but it sure feels like it. We're getting lots of winds like you typically get in fall. Cooling down. It's nice. I actually like fall. So today we're going to do a couple things. One is testing out these gouache brands. I've got 5 here, there's many more, and what's the difference in them? I have only one acrylic brand here. I think all the rest are your standard type of water reactive gouache. I was playing with this one here. This is a Canadian brand. I don't know if you can get it in the States or anywhere else. You could probably try. This is from Desires. It's a Desire brand, and they are fairly inexpensive. And I did do this last week on Thursday. If you want to find that stream, you can look that up. Last Thursday. And it is a very matte finish. Not quite as opaque as your standard gouache that I was playing with. One being the Schmincke, I think it's pronounced that way. Yeah, Schmincke. They call it poster color, but it's actually listed as a gouache. And these are very watery, but extremely opaque and smooth going on. So I did really like these. And these are a little more cost effective as far as a lot of the tubes that you will get. So these were, I believe, around $9, $8, something like that. And there is 40 mils in here, whereas you're getting only 5 mils in some of these, or 11 for a lot more, usually around 10 to 12 to $15 a tube. So yeah, I do like these. I've only been able to find this one here at the Desires. You should be able to get them at Jackson's, I would imagine, Art. And a couple days ago I got these in, and this is the Holbein Artist Gouache, and I just got your primary colors in all of them just to test them out, and then I'll decide from there if I want any more of a certain brand. These are all listed as archival, and they also give the how transparent or opaque they are on the tubes. So I don't know if you can even see this. See that little circle there? That means this color is semi-transparent. And you will find that with a lot of reds, yellows, sometimes orange. This one is transparent because it's all clear. And then when you get into your darker colors, and white, strangely enough, is there you have a full circle on that one. And then the white is, oh, the white is half on the Holbein. So we'll test these out. So I got the Holbein. I have Schmincke. These were all on sale. These were I got from Jackson's Art, and these are the 20 mil, and this was a really good price. I can't tell you exactly what it was now. And these are all listed as opaque except the yellow, and the yellow is semi, and this one, it shows it on a square. And the reason why I got just the primaries is because you can mix and get your own colors if you want. Idea of finding out which ones I prefer. This one is the Winsor Newton brand. This is probably the most popular, I find. A lot of illustrators use this one. And again, I got the primary colors. Let's see. Just checking the, yeah. I got a green with this one. This one had 5 in it. So again, the yellow is semi-transparent. So I thought it would be kind of cool to see what I thought about them and the consistency of it and how much they really do cover. And then we'll go on to painting some asters, and these are a smaller type aster from my garden, and there's 3 colors: light mauvey shade, kind of a magenta, and then a nice rich purple. So we'll draw these up loose type of painting, and maybe even use some gouache in these to see how it performs with watercolor. Restore my chat. All right. Hey everybody, Devin. Is it Tamari? Hey Lena, good to see you. You're lurking today? That's fine. Jilly? Good to see you. Yeah, Lena's always working hard. So, I think this is just a watercolor paper, 140 pound, and it comes from Fabriano Watercolor Acrylic, and it's 100 GSM, 140 pound. And I think I'll actually put a swatch in this book too, just to see how it reacts to a sketchbook paper. So let's put these flowers aside for now. And the tray out. Hey Janet! So we'll start off with Winsor Newton, I guess, and we'll test this out. And I think I'll just stick with the blue and yellow for now. So Winsor Newton, I'm just putting initials in, and then we have Schmincke. So let's see, we can put that one here. And Holbein. So we have the yellow. So I'm just putting a dab in, not much. These are very highly pigmented. And then the blue. So when I saw these on sale, I thought, well, I may as well try them just to see what the big rave is all about. Is this some new stuff that I probably don't have? Well, I don't know. We'll see, Janet. We just don't know yet. I'm going to see what the hype is. Now this isn't the exact blue because this one's primary blue and this one is ultramarine deep. So it'll be different, but I'll still be able to judge the opaqueness. And then the yellow. And blue. The blue one here is Primary Cayenne. It's a little thinner, it seems, which is interesting. Yeah, both of them are a little thinner. The stiffest one seems to be the Winsor Newton. Oh, I'll keep those out. Okay, so that's what we got here. And I'm going to put a black line with a permanent marker, just so we can see how opaque they're going to be. If I can find some more acrylic gouache, I'll see if I can do more of a test on those too. So far the only one I have is this Acrylic from Dioxazine. Okay, so this is a Winsor Newton yellow, and I don't have much water on my brush. And the trick is with gouache, I've been watching lots of videos, is the amount of water that is put on your brush or mixed with your paint. I'm going to do all the yellows at the same time. That way I don't muddy up anything. Cast, the gouache I got was 15 Caran d'Ache in pans. Yeah, you can get pans too. It's just a little bit harder to get an opaqueness with a pan if they're already dried. But you can use them dry too, just reactivated. Okay, this is the Schmincke. I can tell right now that it's a little more opaque. And if you remember last week we tried some and found that the opaqueness intensified as it dried with the, what was it, the Schmincke. Okay, so there's so far. So you can see this one is a little bit more opaque than these two. This one is hardly opaque at all. This one's got a little bit more than that one also. So the Winsor Newton is a little more transparent than the both of them. I'm attempting to get, I'm sorry. Okay, Devin. Okay, here's the Winsor Newton, what's it called again? Primary Blue. I do have the same amount of water put on. They do go on nice. They're smooth. So depending on what you really want as far as being opaque, or is it the load of color? This one's needs a little more water in it. This one's a little bit hard to see as far as opaqueness, but it does have, depending on how much water you have on your brush, will depend on the opaqueness also. This is the Holbein. Okay. So, Winsor Newton, you can still see through it. So we'll see it once it dries how opaque it's going to be. You're doing both. I'm going to add a little bit more of this Winsor Newton, and I'll try one with a little bit more paint and less water. So I just want a damp brush, and we'll see consistency and does it drag. Now this is watercolor paper too. Now I can still see through it. Get the wrong one. That's Schmincke, that's Holbein. The blue. I messed up a bit. The wrong blue. This is Holbein. The Holbein is very thick. So the Schmincke, I got enough on there. And then we'll see what the reactive ability is too. I'm going to put some of this on my book also, just to see how it goes on. So we'll let that dry and we'll bring our book in. Okay, we'll do Winsor Newton, Holbein, and Schmincke. So Winsor Newton, I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. Winsor Newton's is fairly thick too. Just a damp brush. Holbein. I think it goes on better in the sketchbook paper, so it's a little bit of a smoother paper works better. And then the Schmincke. And they did say that a smoother paper like a hot pressed or even a mixed media paper, they tend to work on those more than a watercolor paper, because then it doesn't soak into the paper as much, and they like that. Then Winsor Newton blue. Holbein blue. Just dab the tip in with the smidge. It goes on a little easier, the Holbein, because it's fairly thick. So I would imagine you're going to have to water that a little bit more. And the Schmincke. So there's on sketchbook paper. So I would say Holbein's a little more opaque in the sketchbook paper. Now, if you remember, last time we did this, this was the Schmincke and the acrylic gouache, and they dried very, very opaque, except for the this one. This one didn't dry as opaque as the Schmincke. So let's put a Schmincke in here too. I know that, let's see, it's blue and yellow. And these are very watery, so I was very surprised to see how watery it is, how opaque they were. So I'm just gonna, let's put the marker down. And remember that this dried more opaque the longer it stayed, or the longer it dried. And there's the blue. And it goes on beautiful. This has a really nice consistency. I'm almost leaning towards the poster color stuff. And it's more opaque than the other stuff, and it's cheaper. So there's those. So that was the Schmincke. You'll see how it's the opaqueness of all of them. So let's dry these and see how they turn out. Hey, Miss Lulu, sorry. You got Turner Acrylic Gouache. Was it really, really matte? And have you tried putting colored pencil over top? Okay, so the Schmincke beat them all. Look how opaque that is. Holbein's the next, I would say. Then Winsor Newton. Then Schmincke. But the Schmincke dries fairly, and as it dries, it gets even more opaque. And let's test a mark or a colored pencil over them. So I like using colored pencil over a lot of my stuff. So let's see, I'll get a dark color, maybe black or brown. So over these, the Winsor Newton goes on nice. Schmincke, or the Schmincke, is not quite as dark. Holbein. That's the only problem with the Schmincke. Doesn't take the pencil quite as much. Winsor Newton takes it really nicely. It just doesn't take that. There must be a little bit of a smoothness to their. You can feel it. There is a little bit of a smoothness to the finish, whereas these are very rough. And I guess that could change as far as the colors too. I find some colors have more filler, I guess you could say. So that has to be put into consideration too. Like this yellow went on fairly nice. And the pencil's going on that, but this blue, not so much. It's weird. Now, as far as the whites are concerned, let's see, the Schmincke says it's fully opaque, so let's see if it is or not. You know, sometimes you could use a combination of different ones too. So if you like a certain opaqueness of one brand in certain colors, I can't see why you couldn't mix them. Oh, why did I do that? This is Winsor Newton. I just put it over the... See, and it lifts pretty fast. Winsor... No, that was right. That's Schmincke. Duh. So it didn't re-wet quite as fast. Winsor Newton. This one's separated a little bit. Okay, I'll put it over here. It doesn't really cover as much as I thought it would too. It might cover more once it's dry, we'll see. White. Holbein. It's thicker, definitely. Doesn't reactivate as quite as fast. And Schmincke, I already did Schmincke on there. I did Schmincke on the, oh, I'll do it again because I did it on the Shinhan. Schmincke. Because the trick with gouache is less strokes is better. And then the Shinhan is, I'll put it over the white. See how opaque it is? And there, you don't get as much of a reaction with the Shinhan. So if you're not too worried about putting colored pencil over top, I kind of think this one's the winner for me. I don't know if you can see that. But I will use the other ones up, but I like the consistency, I like the opaqueness, it's economical, it doesn't react quite as fast as the others. Yeah, I think that's the one I'm going to go for if I get any more. But I've got enough here that I can use these for making other colors. Definitely. And as far as this one, the acrylic, I'm still wondering when I watch all these videos of these illustrators using gouache, why don't they just go with this, an acrylic gouache? Because they all say, oh, you can't do this because it'll reactivate. Well, why not use an acrylic gouache? What's the advantages of using the reactive gouache? I don't get it. Now, mind you, this one here isn't very opaque. That's the one thing about this. Light fast. They're all light fast and everything, but I will get some and test them out. Lena, did your Turner acrylic gouache, did it cover? Was it opaque? see. Yes, they are nice matte. I use them as abstract landscapes, so didn't use colored pencils on top like I would for watercolor. The colors I picked were earth tones, real pretty ones. And Lulu, what was that? What brand were you talking about? Maybe they want to vary the opacity, maybe. But like I know you can do a glazing. I know they start off thin and then get thicker, is what I've learned. So fat over lean, basically. You can do they do a lot of washes first with it, but you can do that with this. I haven't seen anybody use it like watercolor as far as removing, or maybe they want it to lighten areas once they go in to have that ability, maybe. Excuse me. Turner, they were opaque, nice quality. It's just the acrylic bit threw me off. Oh, okay. So they were really nice and opaque. Now I did find too that they are nice and matte, but they're very similar to the golden, what's it called? Flat matte or something they call them, the new matte acrylics that they have out. They're in like tiny little jars, and the price of them are outrageous. I got Royal and Nickel gouache, and it's not opaque. Oh yeah. Yeah, see, the Royal and Nickel gouache would be one of your less expensive ones, so I think there would be less pigment in them too. But when I watch these artists do their gouache paintings, it's minimal stroke marks. So if you're one to dab and work with stuff, then your ordinary gouache wouldn't be probably for you. It would probably drive you nuts because you would end up with a muddy mess. So it's basically one dab or two, and thick layers on the last layer. In fact, my gouache act like the Grombacher watercolor set in round. Oh, really? That's interesting. So I guess it would probably depend on your techniques, how you paint. I find that a lot of the artists that do the gouache paintings paint more in a style of acrylics, more of an acrylic style, but unable to work multiple strokes. Well, I haven't played with it enough to be any kind of an expert by any means, but I've always been fascinated by the illustrators. There's a real different look to their work. Very, very, I don't know how to describe, maybe 2D, I guess. More 2D in a lot of them. There are a few that can get very detailed, and that was one of the things that I heard a lot of artists say, is that if you're wanting to get into gouache, it's more of a impressionist way of painting, because you don't do as much detail, because you're not, unable to do all those repeating brush strokes. So they said if you're someone that likes a lot of detail, gouache wouldn't be one for you. It's more impressionistic, I guess. Now, give the instructions for if you paint like a... Oh, please. Janet. No, they're fun though. Like, and then I thought, well, you know, when you're getting into the acrylic gouache, really, what's the difference between an acrylic gouache and your craft paint? Really, most craft paint are very opaque. They're usually matte. Actually, let's bring out a craft paint and test it. Let's see. Okay, so I have a cadmium yellow here. So it should be fairly close to that color. So I'm going to put a little bit of cadmium yellow here. Take a different brush. And they also said not to use your watercolor brushes with gouache because it's too soft. You need a little bit of a stiffer brush, which I thought was interesting. So, okay, I gotta put my lines in first. Where is that? Oh, there it is. I'm always one that question stuff like crazy. So, okay, here's the acrylic craft paint, Americana. All right, and should we get a blue? We may as well. Blue, blue, blue. Primary blue. So I don't know if I'm missing something when people are using this and I'm not understanding it. I don't know. But these are the things that go through my mind. Correct me if anyone's watching on the replay. Put it in the description, because I'd love to know the information. Okay, so there, I'll put some more of this on again. So we'll see what the differences are. Oh no, that wasn't it. It was the shit. It was the other stuff. This one. Okay. But it's a whole lot cheaper. You know, if you're gonna be, if there's really no difference, then why pay that exorbitant price? Especially if it's just in a book. I can see if you want the archival ability, then yeah, for a painting or something like that, but not if it's in your book, where a lot of illustrators work. Would it wreck your watercolor brushes, I wonder? Well, they said because of the filler in it, and because it's matte, it's rougher, so it's going to wear your brushes down much quicker, is what I heard anyways. Okay. Yeah, true, you can't re-wet acrylics. Okay, let's try that. Alright, so there's the two. This is the craft paint, and that's the acrylic gouache. So the acrylic gouache, this one in particular, does have a smoother, it's not as rough feeling. It's rough, but this one, the craft paint, has a lot more tooth to it. So it's, there is a slight, very slight sheen to the acrylic gouache, this particular brand. So, you know, and again, it depends what you want to do. So you're able to, and again, I think it depends on the color. This blue, for some reason, doesn't take the pencil quite as much as the yellow. Why? I don't know. They aren't as opaque as, you know, your reactive gouache. Now, this is a cheaper brand of acrylic gouache, so I don't know whether the more expensive ones would be more opaque. I don't know. I don't have any. Yeah, they look so similar. So really, why would you want to spend hundreds of dollars to get a set of acrylic gouache when craft paint's going to do the exact same thing, if not more? The only difference is they're not, they are a bit archival, but not like student or artist grade. I don't know if they say how long these. Professional artist quality, it says. High pigment, water-based acrylic for decorative, general craft. Uses excellence for stenciling, house decor, fabric painting. Use on wood, fabric, walls, canvas, metal, paper. Such opaque colors cover in one coat. Intermixable and permanent. Soap and water. So it doesn't give a archival rating on it. Imagine if you looked it up, they might, but I know I have some work from 20 years ago and it still looks just as good. So really, I would just stick to your craft paint for your acrylic gouache. It's expensive, and this is still the Americana. I find is probably has the flattest texture to it. Now, as far as the gouache itself, I still like the Shinhan, and it was less expensive. I think it's more opaque than all the others, from what I'm seeing. So I just thought I'd do this, figure out what's the big deal with gouache. I'm like that. I always say, look at your stuff. You more than likely have the same thing in your supply somewhere that's called something different. There's so many things out there that are the exact same thing. It might be a different name to it or a different packaging, but it's the same thing. Oh, you're welcome, guys. This has always been on my mind. I know I'm weird. I think about these things and I think, well, what else can I use that won't work? So this is what I figured out. So save yourself some money. If you want an acrylic gouache, buy craft paint. You know, $10 for 40 mil. I think these were, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, I can't remember. 40 mils versus Americana has 59 mils, and it's $1, what, 79, something like that in Canada. Like, get this. And you can pick up as many colors as you want. But as far as the other stuff, like this is good. This is the cheaper one than this one for the regular. This one here was $7. Now, mind you, this one's got 250 mils, and so it's a little cheaper than this, but it's not as opaque. This particular one, and this is the only gouache that I saw that came in this size for that amount of money. All the other ones that I have seen in the acrylic gouache are fairly expensive. So I would still say get this. Yeah, exactly, Jilly, you can. Just add some color to your white gouache and you've got the gouache. What is the difference with tempera paint? I never used it. Tempera paint, well, there's the true tempera paint, and then there's the tempera paint that kids use. So the true tempera paint is actually made out of egg yolk. It's very, very archival. It's what they used hundreds and hundreds of years ago to do paintings. But it has a very short shelf life, and it can get a little on the expensive side too, and very few places carry it because of that fact of the shelf life. So the other tempera is more or less like a it's more or less a cheap watercolor block. If you're getting it in the block form, you know, the cakes, and the if you get it in the tube or the like a bottle like this for kids, it's just a cheap paint basically. As far as archival for the kids stuff, probably not very good, but you never know. I haven't looked into that one. Stinky egg smell. Yeah, it would go rotten smell. Yeah, like a rotten egg smell. Tempera paint also is got a very chalky consistency to it. All right. So I thought that's why I only got a few of these, but they were all on sale. So, and I have times when I've done watercolor, wanted an opaque color of some sort over top of something to cover something. So these are always good to use with your watercolor also. It doesn't have to be just your gouache only. You can intermix them. If you want to cover up something, you want a nice watercolor effect background, but you want something very definite in front of it, you could put the gouache on top. So let's use some gouache and some watercolor, and we're going to be painting these. So these are asters, and they're from my garden. There's 3 colors here, that kind of a magenta color, a nice mauve, and then more on the purpley side. And I think I'm just going to do a very loose watercolor, splashes of, I don't know, we'll see what we can do with the watercolor and the gouache. So I got my, put this over here. So if we're going to do some loose effects, we'll start off with these bright colors. I'm going to have to wipe this clean though. I don't want to contaminate my colors. So I'll get as much of this off. Now, I would imagine too that there's probably a lot of artists out there that do use the craft paint, but they just don't say it. They don't want to be known. But if you're experimenting, or if you're just learning the art of gouache painting, use cheaper stuff until you get, because it has the same consistency and everything as craft paint. You remember their cave paintings that hundreds of thousands of years old? Yeah, exactly, Kathleen. Hi, by the way. You're doing a great job on your paintings. I love it. And they had, you know, natural pigments back there too. So depending on how they mixed it and what else they put in it. Mind you, they were cave paintings, so the sunlight didn't hit it. Okay, let's mix a couple, 3 different colors of purples and mauves. Let's see, what colors do I have in here? Bright violet, and I think quinacridone magenta would be a good one. So that's this one here. we'll mix a few. So mix a magenta. That'll be for this one here. And let's see, this purple one here, it's a Holbein Bright Violet. Put it right there. I think that'll be a perfect color. And then there's that soft mauvey color. And I might be able to use probably a Dioxazine Purple, but I'll water it down a lot. Okay. And we'll just do some random marks, and then probably the centers we'll do in gouache. See if we can get enough to cover it. Maybe do some more petals in gouache. We'll see. Yeah, I've read that they were done with iron oxide in clay soil. Cool. Yeah, it's interesting, eh? How did they learn that stuff? You would really want to wonder how they could have thought of those things. So I'm just going to basically use my tip of my brush and I'm going to see about using the yellow gouache. See what happens. Just a few of those, and then a few of the beautiful purple one that's called Bright Violet by Holbein. I had quite a bit of those. And just throwing on. They're like a daisy, but if you're doing it far apart, like you're not really close up, then I wouldn't worry too much about each petal. And then the last one is that Dioxazine Purple, and I'm going to mix it very, very light mix. And we'll put a bit darker right in here. Yeah, that's perfect. So there's definitely a different hue to all of them. This is on the red side. This one here, this one's cooler. And we'll put one over here. But I'm really not making any definite flower shapes, just a bunch of scribbles. Some that go in here. Okay. And then I can take a green, and this is a really nice dark green, so it was probably a green apatite would work, or a praline green maybe. Let's see. So this is Daniel Smith Green Apatite Genuine. Really nice color. And you could put a little bit of Praline Green by Daniel Smith in it. It's a little bit on the grayish side, but it'll darken that a little bit. So these are fairly dark. Okay, and again, it's almost the same kind of marks, except we'll put some stems in. Just with the tip of my brush. They have quite a few different leaves. They get smaller as they go up. You can change up the color a little bit if you want, give it a little more interest. Add a little bit of lighter color, maybe. Just don't make them all the same, then it kind of gets boring. So just change it up a little bit by dipping into another green color or a little bit of blue. And then there's lots of these little tiny leaves on the stems. And you could put some buds in too. And then we'll go in with some gouache and add a few defined petals and leaves over top of this. Don't forget to overlap some of these too. So remember, you don't see the front, the whole flower on every one of them. Some are overlapped, some are behind things, some are in front, some aren't. So you kind of have to add a few over top of your existing ones. You can always add more in too. I'm going to add some more stems because there's 3 stems here. So I'm going to get this dark color again. Just by doing that. Okay, now I'm going to dry it. All right. Now let's see. If we take some of this poster paint, make sure you have your paintbrush good and clean because you don't want to contaminate. I'm just going to take some off the lid, put it over here in a couple areas so I can mix. colors. That over there so I don't spill it. Let's see. Bring this up a little bit for you. Okay, so if we were going to put some of these in, let's do the magenta ones first. So I'm going to take a little bit of this magenta that was already mixed, and we're going to mix it into this color. Let's see what we can do. So it just adds a little bit. So this one is the regular gouache, and actually with this one it's kind of neat because I'm going over top of the watercolor and it is mixing with it a little bit, but I put another color in it, but I kind of like the streaking that I'm getting from the mixing once I do a whole bunch of brush marks. So that's kind of cool. So I can see how that would work for this type of application of a flower. Let's put a couple in here. Okay. All right, now let's, what was this one called? Bright Violet, so let's mix some of that with the color. And we'll put it on there. See what happens. Okay, I need some of this. Makes it a little bit darker. The asters are very, they have a lot of petals. You can make different shades too. If you want more white, you could put more white into it. A little more darker. Overlap. See, I can overlap with the gouache on my greens because it'll cover it. But you don't want to do all of them that way. But I can also go back over top of the green with the gouache too. Let's see. Let's do some more of that magenta. A little bit of white in it. I'm going to see if I can do the opposite and have the magenta go over top of the gouache and see what it does. experimenting. This is how you learn. It's in your book, so it's just a sketch. It's not a piece that you're going to hang on the wall. So get your stuff out and play. Just play. Thanks, Jilly. Okay, now I'm going to dry that first. Where did I put my brush? Okay, so let's see if I can go over top of that gouache with just watercolor. See what happens. In a fairly thick consistency. Yep, you can. So that's cool. See what happens when it's dry. But you aren't doing an exact replica of your bouquet, just essence. Yeah, a lot of times unless you want to do like botanical illustration where it's exactly the same, but a lot of times I just get my flowers for a reference as far as shape and colors, and then you just play with it. I want a fairly dark green. And I'm going to go back in certain areas, even go across some, and darken some of those areas up. Now I could take my marker or colored pencil and do this too. Let's see what happens when I add some that green to this. So we get a light green. Now this is when, if you had a really dark green in a gouache, you might get better application over top of these. But I think you can incorporate both. You just don't have to do just gouache. I think if you're doing a watercolor and then you make a mistake, why not use gouache? Fix it. I like the two together. This is great for doing these sketches, these nature sketches, because it gives you a better look of your work. Might be a few of these light ones in there. These little, let's just have these tiny little Okay. So let's dry that, and then we'll take some pen work and do a few little doodads. Oh, we have to put centers in too. So the centers, they say that if you want a really opaque, the lighter colors like yellow, orange, and reds, you should use a white opaque gouache with it, and that way it's covers more. So I want to put a yellow on top of these. So let's get some of this. I'm just going to shake it so some come out in the lid. Okay, I'm just going to take some of this and we'll have to do some nice yellow here, Henza yellow, medium, and we'll add it to this white. Some more, darken it a little more. Okay, and then the centers are kind of just a button, kind of. And it's fairly big, so I'm just gonna, not all of them, but the ones I think I would see that are facing me. There might be just a few that are on the side profile, so you wouldn't see them totally. Some might be bigger than others. But it covers once you put the white in it. So really, if you wanted to, just get a really good white and add, like Julie said, add the watercolor to it. Okay, and then I'll just dry that up. Alright, now we could just do, let's see, a pen. And I would probably, let's see, I could add a few more buds with the pen. It doesn't have to be all painted. Sometimes it's kind of cool to see the leaves or whatever not painted. Kind of gives it a neat look. I like that look of some things unfinished. Just make sure you don't draw a straight line from the flower to the bottom of the page, because that'll look, it won't look natural, because it'll be going in and out of things. So draw some leaves in there. You could draw around some of these centers. Maybe put a few dots in the center. A little more dimension. You could use a colored pencil if you wanted to. You don't have to just use pen. Use colored pencil too. Just putting a few dots in the bigger areas. Small ones I'll leave. You might not see dark pen in the purples, so you won't have to do a whole lot in there. But it's kind of neat to do the lighter colors in just in the very center where the petals would all meet. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of shadow in there. So just put a few strokes. It just gives it a little bit fuller look, more dimension. And if you don't like it, get your gouache out and paint over it. As long as you're using a permanent pen, ink, you should be able to paint over it if it didn't turn out the way you want. Just put some leaves in. You don't have to put them all in. Put some in. I like the sketchy look. This is how you learn what you like, by playing with it. Outline some of the petals if you want to, or add a few in that aren't colored. That's kind of neat looking too. Just gives it a more interest. Kind of fit, your mind will fill in what's suggested. Thanks, Devin. You don't have to do every flower, just the occasional one. I like to do the ones that are more up front. That way your eye travels around the page. So don't do them all in one spot, because you want your eye to travel. This is just a suggestion. What's there? Let's see what else. Do a few in here. So I'm drawing outside the color. So kind of like coloring outside the lines. Break the rules. Sometimes they look cool when you do. Your eye will tell you what is good and what's not. Or if you've got all the line work in one area, maybe you need to go to another area and add a little bit there. You just kind of, it's intuitive, I guess you could say. And also, you don't have to do this all at once. If you're not sure, put it away. Come back to it. With fresh eyes is always the best policy. I love this, the way this looks. Thanks. There. So it's just very sketchy. Just a bit. With line, with gouache, with watercolor. Just play with it. This one's very easy to do. I hope you'll give it a try. Now you can take a screenshot of this if you want. If you want to paint this. Or you can just Google it or go on Pinterest and find some asters and paint them. So just paint them as a suggestion. Don't paint them exact. This is just a reference for color, for form, not for exactly where they're placed. This is the great thing about nature drawing, is nature is always different. It's not like a face, where a face of somebody you know or recognize has to be exact. This doesn't have to be exact. You know it's a flower, and you know it's this color, and you know it's this type of flower. Who cares if the petals are a little short or there's not as many, you know. So if you're wanting to get into drawing more, try nature first. Don't go to faces unless you want to do imaginary faces. made up or cartoon or whatever you want to call it, pretty girl faces, then yeah, you can do those because they're not representing anybody in particular. It's a face. If you guys want to learn faces, let me know, because I can also start probably doing some of those. I think starting in October, I'm probably going to start to do a little bit more on caricature drawing, that type of thing. Yeah, the white Posca or the yellow Posca would work great, Kathleen. Yeah, or craft paint. Get your craft paint out. That'll work just as good. So I don't know if any of you follow Iris Compet. It has this new book out. She's on Instagram, and she does have a YouTube channel. That's her name there. She has a fantastic YouTube channel. She's just starting to get back into it. She's been busy with this book. But I just got this book the other day, and I was watching some of her YouTube about characters, how she comes about finding these characters or drawing these characters. And it's a really cool way she does it, and she teaches on YouTube how to do it. So I thought it would be fun to start doing some of these for Halloween, the month of October. So what do you think? And it'll be nature inspired too, because of leaves and flowers still. This is a great book. I love fairies and that type of thing. So I thought it would be fun to try and do some of these. You like veggies too? Did you remember my veggie man that I made last year? Out of the carrots and the tiger lily, I think it was. That was fun. I don't know if I have it here or not. Let's see. Was it in this? I think it was in one of these books. Or it might have been last year's. I haven't put this together. This is this year's file folders, and I haven't put it all together yet. Maybe. Maybe it was last year. Could have been in a book too, I don't know. This Thursday I will be doing the, oh, I think it was in a book actually, with the Squish Fairies. What book was that? I don't remember what book it was in. I'll have to look for it and I'll show it to you on Thursday. But yeah, I want to do some of those, and some creatures. I thought it would be kind of fun for October, and we'll do some watercolor ones and show you an easy way of making your own creatures. I think creatures are the way to go, because then you don't have to worry about whether they look proportional or look like somebody. They could be really messed up looking, and it'll be a creature. So I thought that would be kind of fun. And Thursday I will be doing the color lamp. I got it yesterday. Is it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And so if you look coloring lamp online, you can find their website and the lamps that they have. And each lamp comes with 2 coloring shades that you can use. I'm I don't know if you know me, but I can never just do something simple. I always have to think outside the box. And I'm actually thinking of doing alcohol inks on it and blowing it. So I do have some alcohol markers. I might use them too, but I'm actually thinking it would really look kind of cool if you did an abstract over top of it with alcohol ink. So you don't necessarily have to color it in. And also another thing I might do is, what if I blacked out certain areas? So when the light came on, you would have a silhouette. That might be actually cool. I'm thinking of that. I gotta think outside the box. And why not? I have actually 2 lamps. They sent me 2, which is very generous. And one I'm going to give as a gift to my granddaughter. So stay tuned for that on Thursday at 1 Eastern. And we'll see what I can come up with. They're awesome. They're so well made. They came really well packaged, so nothing moved at all. I think this is going to be cool. And I'm going to really do a bunch of experimentation. I think I might order some more of this film to do my own drawings on, or possibly, I'm thinking of this, you know, the inked leaves that I do? Why can't I do it on a lampshade? I think it would look cool. So I'm thinking of possibly doing that. Or I could take even the rice paper that I've already done some on and put it on to the Mylar itself. Yeah, on Instagram. They're on Instagram also. Coloring Lamp, it's called. And on Facebook, it's called The Coloring Lamp. I don't know if you can see that. So it's going to be fun. I think you are the exact person to revolutionize the lamp. Thanks, Janet. It could be fun. I don't know. I always have to think outside the box. What else could we do? It's just the way I go. I do have some Mylar of my own here. A big roll of it, actually, from a drafter's studio that gave it to me. So I might be able to use it. I have to see how thick it is. If not, I'll be ordering some. All right, so I hope you'll give this a try, and we'll see you on Thursday for sure. And get your stuff out and have some fun. Experiment with what you have. You never know. You will be surprised in what you already have on those shelves that you could use for something else. So give it a try, and we'll see you all on Thursday. Have a great one, everyone.